With Miller Brewing, the Brewers will begin a 15-year naming rights deal with American Family Insurance on January 1st of 2021. Outside tonight, cloudy with a chance of snow, lows in the upper 20s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
About to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocate's happiest half an hour in radio, Dom.
Crudy, happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, my dear friend. What another exciting day. Right now, the impeachment of President Donald J. Trump is happening. A little dinner break for the senators. Apparently going to break for about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. You know how that goes. So I thought we'd jump in and see what your thoughts are. Crudy, what's your takeaway right now?
We are the dinner theater entertainment for the Senate.
Is that what it is?
Dominic, my thoughts so far, first and foremost, before I get into the impeachment, a few good at the order show notes. Tony Evers, it's the big gala tonight, Dom, the State of the State address. We had every good intention of broadcasting that thing live here. We are going to have to replay Tony Evers' State of the State address at 10 p.m. Central Time. Right here, Talk 92.7 FM. It'll stream out in the Milwaukee market at Talk 101.7 FM. And Dominic, in that same line of thought, we've got a Evers surrogate, if you will, Missy Hughes, WEDC secretary and CEO. She's going to join us tomorrow in the 3 o'clock hour, either live or on Memorex, and we'll play it during the first break of the Senate impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. Missy Hughes on this big show tomorrow. Also, one other quick note, Dom. Since I was last on the air with you, my little buddy, Senator Mark Miller has announced his retirement. Senator Mark Miller from the Madison area is retiring. He joins our good friend Dave Hansen, a recent guest on this show. I just saw Dave earlier this week, and now I see Mark Miller's retiring. And at the very same press conference Tuesday I attended, 10-year anniversary of Citizens United, and good guys like Dave Hansen want to see that overturned, want to see some change here on the state level. Well, one of the advocates there, Melissa Sargent, well, she's already thrown her hat in, Dom. She's jumped in the pool. She's in it to win it. She's announced her candidacy to replace Mark Miller. So from one friend to another, we wish her well.
Right.
A few other considering, Dom, still considering early, or more accurately, late breaking news yesterday. Apparently, State Rep Jimmy Anderson and Gary Hebel, Anderson of Fitchburg, Hebel of Sun Prairie, also considering running for Mark Miller's soon-to-be vacated seat. He's not running for re-election. He's retiring. But Dominic, back to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump, because I just like the way it comes off my tongue. It just sounds good when I say it, Dom.
It's been a long time coming, and you're right. It kind of just flows off the lips so beautifully.
Okay, so my first impression is the House impeachment managers are far better lawyers than anyone Donald Trump's run out there so far. Less impressed by the Jay Sekulow and the Pat Cipollone. Truly impressed by Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, I mean, this guy's an assassin up there, Dom. I've been very impressed by Adam Schiff and Hakeem Jeffries. And you took note of a few of the statements he made I'd like to point out, during the impeachment of Donald Trump, our friend Rojo was named. As you pointed out, you texted me last night, Rojo, and I'm like, what about Rojo?
They're talking about him, yeah.
He has been read into the record of the impeachment of Donald J. Trump, Senate trial thereof, and Hakeem Jeffries made sure Biggie was represented, Dom. He got Biggie into the impeachment of Donald J. Trump transcripts. Well, however did he do so, Dom?
We have some of that sound. Brian, you want to play that? Let's do that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, if you would, please, Brian.
We are here, sir, to follow the facts, apply the law, be guided by the Constitution, and present the truth to the American people. That is why we are here, Mr. Sekulow. And if you don't know, now you know.
If you don't know, Sekulow, now you know. Of course, the representative responding to Sekulow, why are we here? Why are we here? Well, that's why we're here. If you didn't know, now you know. Perhaps some of the Republicans weren't paying too much attention over the last 6 months.
Stone cold Russian propaganda at one time. Also, Hakeem Jeffries, the very articulate Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, this guy can do a little lawyer in himself, Dom. And he did point something out that was very important about the so important July 25th phone call, Dom. Trump didn't mention the word corruption once, other than claiming it's all ridiculous. The claim is corruption, right? That Donald Trump's so interested in rooting out corruption. Except he didn't frickin' mention corruption. He talked about the Bidens a lot. And now the House impeachment managers are beginning to lay out the case, Dom. And so far, quite damning.
Well, certainly. And the Republicans, I guess specifically the president's attorneys yesterday, I think were just run around the playground. They, I think, were just blindsided by 11 amendments. This thing went well into the early hours of the morning. I couldn't believe it. I tried, Crudy. I tried, man. I was watching as much as I could. Dozed off just a little bit. But I did wake up when Gerald Nadler was getting in their ass. Pretty contentious. And now, apparently, some of the senators on both sides of the distinguished Senate have gently, I guess, on the Dem side and perhaps more aggressively on the Republican side, told them to tone it down. And even Chief Justice got into it yesterday, reminding everyone, of course, that this was a deliberative body.
Well, Dominic, they got it trending on Twitter yesterday. I believe the hashtag was Midnight Mitch, Midnight Moscow Mitch, something of that effect. But more accurately, bar time Mitch McConnell, man. 2 o'clock in the morning before they wrap things up. That's closer to bar time around here. And bar time on a Tuesday night?
Way to go. But, I mean, Schumer kept coming out. I couldn't believe it. More and more of these amendments. These amendments to the resolution, 11 in total. A subpoena to get documents from the White House. Rejected. A subpoena to get documents from the State Department. Rejected. A subpoena to get documents from the Office of Management and Budget. Rejected. Mulvaney testimony. Rejected. A subpoena to get documents from the Defense Department. Rejected. A subpoena to get testimony from Robert Blair, an aide to Mulvaney, and Michael Duffy, Wisconsin's own, a political appointee at OMB, also rejected. A proposal to mandate that inclusion of testimony excerpted from materials that would necessitate the release of both sides of the material in this entirety. Rejected. A subpoena for testimony from former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Rejected. A proposal to eliminate mandated vote before the Senate could vote on calling witnesses. Rejected. All 47 to 53, with the exception of this one, Crudy, Susan Collins, went with the Dems. A proposal to allow additional time for responding to motions. Rejected. And finally, a proposal allowing Chief Justice John Roberts Jr., who is presiding over the trial, to determine whether witnesses or evidence should be included. Rejected. 47 to 53.
Let me see if I got the running totals correct. So evidence, rejected. Testimony from witnesses, rejected. Fair trial, rejected.
And an impartial Chief Justice to determine whether or not witnesses and evidence should be allowed in, right? The Republican-appointed guy, also rejected. So while I understand this is a deliberative body, yada, yada, I can appreciate that. But the fact that the Republicans are so wound up in their position that they don't want to acknowledge or allow these things, at least yet. Now, maybe there's an opportunity, so they say, according to the resolution, at the tail end of this deal. But one would think you'd want these witnesses and testimony and a neutral judiciary, a neutral judge to determine what it actually should be allowed or not, all rejected by the Republicans.
Well, Dominic, I hope there's literally thousands or maybe millions enjoying the Senate trial of Donald J. Trump right here on the Wisconsin Political Talk Network.
Perhaps billions.
But we love it.
Perhaps.
We love it when the masses join us here on the airwaves at 844-967-2789. Dick, you are the early innovator once again. Thanks for playing, Dick. Welcome to the show. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
Hey, guys. I told Brian, check into this. First thing that came to mind this afternoon, what you're saying about the attorney advantage, and I see it too. I mean, these guys are feeble at best. But there used to be an attorney in Madison. He was a really nice guy, don't get me wrong. I went to high school with his boys, named Ken Herr. And he had this thing called a legal clinic back in the 70s.
Did he wear a cowboy hat, Dick?
Oh, he did everything. He came out of Lake Monona with beads around him. He was a great big burly guy. Anyway, the first thing that came to mind was the legal clinic and Ken Herr. These guys are pathetic.
You know what the most important part?
Pathetic.
The Trump legal team, the most important part, Dick, as far as Trump was concerned, no money down.
Right.
Because he's going to stiff the attorneys anyways.
First consultation free, Dick.
So anyway, guys, I tell you, that's what I saw. And talk to Matt. He's long in the tooth like me. He'll tell you about it. I think he was in school here at that time.
Dick, appreciate the call, man. Thanks for listening to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump right here on the Wisconsin Political Talk Network. And I'm here in Madison where our friends on Talk 92.7 FM are listening. Some perhaps on the way to the speech of Tony Evers, the big gala tonight, the State of the State address. And unfortunately for Tony, he's been preempted, at least here on this station, by the Senate impeachment trial. They'll go back in session, Dom, about 6:05, our understanding. So if you want to hear Tony Evers' speech tonight, you're going to have to tune back in about 10 o'clock Central Time. Our thought process is this impeachment day one. And yesterday, Dom, yesterday wasn't day one. Yesterday was just debate over resolutions.
Laying down the groundwork of how this was going to work out.
For today, which is day one. And now we know, I mean, Mitch McConnell, he wants to push this thing quick, right? 3 days for the Democrats to present their case. So they get
hours.
presumably Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I would guess they might leave a little time on the table, wrap up just a little early on Friday, right? So the defense, all the exculpatory evidence is going to happen, what, Saturday night? Do you think McConnell wanted the president to put up his defense late on a Saturday night?
No,
because they're going 6 days a week, baby.
No, I get that. And my understanding from reporting perhaps from CNN that the White House and the Republicans were negotiating on this point. They wanted to jam it all into this week. You know, if it would have been the original 2 days instead of now 3 days, they could have been out fairly quickly. Now they're going to have
the president's team would have been Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday would have been the plaintiff's team, the House managers, if you will, Dom.
But I doubt
Sorry
that.
to interrupt.
I highly doubt that either way, because now given the calendar, of course, Sunday jumps in there, so they go Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. But what are the chances of them actually taking the entirety of the 24 hours? I just don't know if they would actually do that. Are you
talking about the defense?
Yes. How long can you stand up there and say that this is ridiculous and there was no quid pro quo and basically read, the last 6 months of Trump's tweets on this topic? Maybe they'll shine based on what we saw yesterday. I don't think so.
Dominic, real quick, Jennifer Rubin on the topic of Adam Schiff from the Washington Post. What did the journalist and the columnist think? Let's read along. Given how firmly some Republican senators are ensconced in the right-wing news bubble and how determined they are to avoid hearing facts that undercut their partisan views, it is possible many of them are hearing the facts on which impeachment is based for the first time. Impeachment manager and House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff took them through in meticulous detail the scheme President Trump devised to pressure Ukraine to help him smear former Vice President Joe Biden. Intentionally ignorant Republicans previously may have learned things from Schiff's presentation. Seriously, if they didn't hear it from talk radio or state TV, it doesn't exist. Well, if our audience doesn't hear it on the Devil's Advocates, it could be fake news, Don. But back to Rubin's column, I'm going to need some help from you as well, buddy. Trump mentioned the Bidens and Burisma, but not corruption during the July 25th call with Ukrainian President Zelensky. I think Hakeem Jeffries also made that point, Tom.
Trump followed up with a call to Gordon Sondland, the U.S. ambassador to the EU, on whether the investigations he demanded would happen.
That was like July 26th, right? A text by Trump appointee to Zelensky's top aide sent 30 minutes before the July 25th phone call stressed that Trump was looking for an announcement of an investigation into Biden. That timeline seems conspicuous. Please continue, my friend.
Crudy, when Trump, standing on the White House driveway, told the media that he wanted both Ukraine and China to investigate Joe Biden, he was not pursuing corruption in Ukraine, but rather looking for foreign countries to smear the former vice president.
People will probably forget all about that, though. Here's another one. The draft statement announcing that Ukraine would undertake corruption investigations was rewritten by Sondland and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani to specifically include Burisma in the 2016 elections. You know, CrowdStrike.
Rudy Giuliani openly bragged about interfering in an investigation in Ukraine.
I thought you'd forgotten about that part as well. Ukrainian officials threw Trump's corrupt scheme back in our faces when asked not to investigate their political opponents.
And that's really, I mean, an embarrassment, for real. Hey, you guys really shouldn't investigate your political rival. Oh, well, like you're asking us to do? Oh, sorry. Yes, please still do what we want. Ukraine was confronted with a cutoff of vital aid in the middle of a hot war, and they're still in that war, Michael.
Dominic, the aid was only released when Trump was caught, and acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney confirmed it publicly. Get over it, buddy. Get over it.
As Rubin goes on to write, Schiff stacked one fact upon another until an impenetrable wall of evidence confronted Republicans. What will their excuse for acquittal be? The facts turn out to be a lot stronger, by gosh, than House Republican apologist said. Schiff was confronting not only the public, but also the Republicans with an indisputable factual account for which Trump lawyers have no answer. So how are they to acquit? Well, there is always the legally insane argument that abuse of power is not impeachable, but Schiff knocked that down as well. Crudy, I'll hit these bullet points and you can wrap it up. William Barr apparently thinks that this bizarre interpretation of the Constitution is wrong, as does Jonathan Turley, who testified for Republicans during the House impeachment process. Alexander Hamilton, quoted today extensively, Crudy, and other framers of the Constitution made plain they were seeking to prevent breaches of public trust and political crimes. And if abuse of power isn't impeachable, then the president is king.
It's good to be king. I read on from the Rubin piece at the Washington Post. I got to always look over my shoulder. They might be testifying. Hurry up and eat, says Mitch McConnell. Schiff was methodically quartering the Republicans. Nope, the claim that there is no evidence of corrupt quid pro quo is unsustainable. In fact, there is overwhelming and uncontradicted evidence. Nope, you do not want to adopt the crackpot theory that the abuse of power is not impeachable. Schiff is leaving them no legitimate basis on which to acquit. He mocked Mulvaney's comment that he would just get over it, challenging the senators to tell their constituents that none of this mattered. And that's what the trial is about. It's about making clear to the country that Trump did exactly what he is accused of, but that his own party, suffering from political cowardice and intellectual corruption, do not have the nerve to stop him. If that is the goal, prove Trump's guilt and Republicans' complicity, Schiff hit a grand slam, and we have days more of evidence to hear, according to Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post. I want to hear from our audience at 844-967-2789. Jake, you've been listening or watching the impeachment trial in the Senate so far.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of it off and on during the day, but I've been getting more of it later. I have to have a statement, and then I have a point to make about it. One, it sucks when the clown car is not full. Why is Rudy Giuliani not in the clown car? He should be there. I mean, if it's going to be a circus, make it a real circus, right? Anyways, but my real point is that the Democrats knew going into this that the Republicans are probably going to quit him because they're all cowards and they have no spine. The whole idea, I believe, is just to make them go on record to use it for the election. And that's what it's coming down to. And we can see it.
Jake, here's my thought. Yes. The jurors are the American people. And the real question, as Adam Schiff said so eloquently yesterday, is will this be a fair trial or will this be a cover-up? And that's the one thing I hope that the Democrats frame these Republicans in on. You can acquit, you can do whatever you want, but the real jurors are the American people, and the real court of public opinion, that does happen in November of 2020.
Yes, it does. And that's what it's all about. And that's what they thought. And they thought this out very long. They had 30-plus days, too, after it. So they knew going into this what was going to happen. And they're actually taking the Republicans, their superiority feelings, their arrogance, and turning it on them in some political jujitsu. I mean, if they get Trump out of there, whatever, that's a huge plus, right? But that's not what they're betting on, and that's not what they have been trying to do this entire time. And it's absolutely clear now. They have them in a trap.
Jake, let's do the math just for a minute. I'm looking at the calendar. Here's my thought. The Democrats will have 2 more days to present, as I think they might wrap up a little bit early. Don't want to go late into the evening on Friday, but they will have fulfilled their 24 hours. Now, the Trump team, they got 24 hours back, but they got Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, and probably they don't even want that much time. That's my guess. You can only say ridiculous so many times. Then there's 16 hours.
Senators.
Well, and then there's 16 hours.
Can't work that long anyways.
Well, neither can the Democratic senators. They all got prostates as big as my fist. But here's my point. They got 16 hours of questions, right? Let's assume that's the 29th and the 30th. That's next Thursday. You got 1, possibly 2 more trial days. So by next Friday, they'll be voting on whether or not post delivery of these statements, whether or not this will be a fair trial or whether it will be a cover-up. Well, if their goal, and I think it truly is, to wrap this thing up no later than the end of next week, because, of course, Trump's got his State of the Union, wants to self-vindicate himself on February 4th. Well, that's a week from Tuesday, Jake. They got to have this thing wrapped up in a week. They can't allow witnesses or testimony, and each and every day, even today, more accurately, last night at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, more evidence dropped from Freedom of Information searches. I mean, evidence is coming out every day, and they're going to wrap this thing up by next Friday, I bet.
Yep, and Deutsche Bank, too. Remember, Deutsche Bank stuff dropped the other day as well. So,
but we're not going to see any of the Deutsche Bank stuff through the impeachment, man. It's not going to happen between now and next Friday, and that assumes there's any evidence presented or any witnesses from here forward. I'm not clear that there will be, just House managers.
But it's out there.
It is out there. It is out there. Absolutely.
It's out there. And you're right. More stuff is going to come out, and it's going to keep on coming out because it's just going to happen. And I think that's part of the plan by the Democrats.
Well, I think you're right, Jake. Go down that rabbit hole. Let's say they rapidly acquit Trump, perhaps with no additional evidence, no witnesses, just say, hey, he's not guilty, or if he is guilty, so what? Abuse of power, everybody doesn't get over it. That's their conclusion, effectively. And then more and more evidence drops post-impeachment trial. Trump's out there claiming vindication, and evidence is dropping in the press every day. And it's so damning to the supposed Senate jurors who just acquitted the guy in a hasteful effort to basically cover up his criminal indiscretions.
And Jake, knowing that more will come out, certainly more facts about this particular case, and of course, more facts about all the other issues that are out there. And I think it was very eloquently and articulated yesterday. These facts will be out there, Jake. They're going to be part of history. Someone will write a book. Someone will be in a movie. I believe it was Schiff who was telling the senators. The question is, we're going to have this information in time to make a judgment on whether or not this man is fit to be the president of the United States. And, of course, he is not.
And this will be the question. Hello?
Yes.
Yep, we're still here, Jake.
Oh, this will be the question. When JFK died, I wasn't born. I was like, where were you when JFK died? Where were you when there was a moon landing? Where were you when the Republican senators decided to betray the Constitution?
And their oaths.
And that's what they're being set up right now. And I don't know if any of them... Of course, Ron Johnson doesn't see it at all. I mean... I can't wait till he comes on and you guys will he come on again?
I don't know, man. It's been a while, Jake, and they canceled a few weeks ago, and now
ask us again, Jake, after the acquittal of Donald J. Trump, because the acquittal's coming, but it could be disastrous for Republicans. At least one must hope, Dom.
Keep your fingers crossed. And there is a small chance that there would not be an acquittal. Thank you for the call, Jake. 844-967-2789. Curdy, a couple of thoughts.
Okay, make them quick, because I got some thoughts, too.
The fact that we as the American people had to wait for an independent group to go through a Freedom of Information Act request to get unredacted documents that show that
they're redacted.
They were released as unredacted. We got unredacted. Certainly still some redactions, no doubt. But what we have seen is that they redacted portions only specifically that made them look bad, right? Very bad. And number two, why do we have to have an independent? Why can't the administration, the executive branch, follow through and give the documents as requested by a co-equal branch of government? We still have subpoenas sitting out there, and we got to wait for a court order from an independent organization. What? And number two, we talked about this with our pal Jim Santel, former U.S. attorney. The Congress had to pass another law to make sure that the money got spent. And this was brought up last night as well. But it was not pounded on to my satisfaction. So if you got to pass one more law to make sure that the last law gets followed through on, and you're going to accept that, then how about two more laws? What if President Dom says, well, you know what? You got to do it 3 frickin' times before I'm going to do what the American people through their representatives have decided will be law, and as the executive branch, I have to follow through. But no, last time we waited 2 times, 3 times, maybe 4 times. It's an embarrassment, and it should not go unnoticed that we had to pass another law because the president, through this illegal act of interference and trying to cheat in our elections, made the laws of the Congress essentially null.
Dominic, I'm declaring implausible, hypothetical. No libertarian's ever going to win the presidency. Okay, so is that your thought? Is it a complete thought?
Okay, now your turn.
I mean, eventually here, the next few minutes, they are going to reconvene the Senate trial of Donald J. Trump. It's going to interrupt the State of the State address for Tony Evers. We're going to replay that speech at 10 o'clock tonight. And we got the big guest coming on tomorrow, Missy Hughes, the Evers surrogate. She's the WEDC secretary and CEO, the new one, the Evers one. So we'll look forward to meeting her tomorrow on the radio, Dom. But I want to throw out there, there's still a horse race going on. We are 12 days. Count them down. 12 days to the Iowa caucus. And we'll be going to Loras University in Dubuque, Iowa. Dom, I've been making arrangements. I've had nothing but time on my hands here today. But
well, we've been there once already. It should be an easy ask, right?
Sure, but I'm trying to get some of our former guests, like the Loras College polling guy. But Dominic, new polling out, CNN Today national polling, and this one finds Bernie Sanders has moved into the lead nationally within the margin of error. Overall, 27% of registered voters who are Democrats or Democratic-leaning independents back Bernie Sanders. 24% favor Biden. The margin between the two within the polls, margin of sampling error, as mentioned, both, however, are significantly ahead of the rest of the field, including Elizabeth Warren at 14%, former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg at 11%, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg at 5%, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, the one the New York Times endorsed, and Andrew Yang tied at 4%, sort of sharing the endorsement of 4%, and businessman Tom Steyer at 2%. No other candidates reach 1%. Dom, here's the other note. Sanders has gained 7 points since the last CNN poll in December. And as I looked at the polling, Dom, Bernie is up 10 since October, and Biden's down 11.
Ooh.
And Bernie's up 3, and Bernie's leading the national polling now. Thank you, Hillary Clinton.
Now, did we also see some polling yesterday? Perhaps we did not get to it given the news of the day, that Biden was up fairly significantly in Iowa.
Whose poll? Was it the Loras College poll?
No, I don't remember.
Now, that's national polling, Dom, so no doubt it's different. The polling snapshot, different in every state. But
that's I guess my point is on that. That's following the last poll that came out of Iowa specifically showing Bernie in the lead. So,
well, we've seen a Des Moines Register poll that has Bernie for the first time leading the gold standard poll. I think Monmouth also had Biden since the debate.
Yeah.
And Dom, here's another one, Newsweek reporting. Bernie Sanders leads Donald Trump by widest margin of all 2020 candidates election poll. Well, Dom, they talk a lot about electability. It should be about head-to-head with Donald Trump, right? Well, let's see who wins that argument. Right now, it's Bernie Sanders. Senator Bernie Sanders leads President Donald Trump by the widest margin of all candidates in the Democratic Party's 2020 race when Americans are asked to choose in a face-off against the Republican incumbent, according to a poll from Survey USA, a big poll, big sample, Dom, 4,069 registered voters nationwide, how they would vote in an election today if Trump were pitted against each of the 2020 Democrats. And here's what they found, Dom. The poll found 52% of voters would choose Bernie Sanders, 43% would choose Trump. That's almost double digits, giving the veteran senator a 9-point lead. Next was former Vice President Joe Biden at 50 to Trump's 43%. Michael Bloomberg, Dom, he's out there spending oodles of money. He leads Donald Trump in national polling. This is a little surprising to me. Bloomberg up 7 over Trump. And then Democratic Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren leading Trump by 3 points, 48 to 45. Again, head-to-head polling, Survey USA. Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, he had his own sort of Jeb Bush, please clap moment in Iowa the other night.
Oh, no!
That's not an Iowa moment anybody wants. The senators, they're stuck in the impeachment trial of Donald Trump, and Buttigieg and Biden, they're out there campaigning. But, he had a bad moment. Let's just say that. Let's move on to the polling. Buttigieg leading Trump 3 points, 47 to 44. Andrew Yang ahead of Donald Trump by 2 points, 46 to 44. That's pretty good for the Yang gang. Billionaire hedge fund manager Tom Steyer tied with Trump at 44% apiece. Amy Klobuchar, let's not forget the New York Times co-endorsee. Well, in national polling, she's losing to Trump, Dom. She's down a couple points head-to-head. I'm sorry, the phone jumped. Here it is. Losing to Trump, at least in this polling, 43 to 45. And Tulsi Gabbard, don't call her a Russian asset, Dom. She'll sue your ass. Tulsi Gabbard losing to Trump 39-44. Down 5.
So Tulsi Gabbard and Amy Klobuchar are the only ones in the poll that actually lose to Trump, regardless of the margin of error.
That's true, although Tom Steyer is, a push.
They're a push.
But Yank's beating them.
This goes to
Pete
show
Buttigieg
how
by
bad
3.
Trump is.
Elizabeth Warren by 3, as mentioned. Bloomberg's got a pretty commanding lead. That is not my original thought. Again, I steal many other people's good thoughts, Tom. But what happens if my optimism is buoyed up by the actual polling and the actual sentiment on the ground in Iowa that Bernie might actually inspire and turn out way more than 20%? I think Bernie Sanders is going to have a really good night in Iowa. That momentum could carry through. He wins 2 or 3 states in a row, or at least Joe Biden doesn't, place at the top of the ticket, Dom. And suddenly Joe Biden's looking like a weak centrist. And you and I looked at Pete Buttigieg up close and personal very recently. We were there at Ames, Iowa, a week ago, Monday, completely unimpressed with the man. I mean, no offense. Let me take that back. Completely unprepared to throw our endorsement behind the man for president because he was uninspiring to the crowd.
Uninspiring, thank you. He was uninspiring to me. Now the crowd, they took their cues and cheered when they were supposed to. They got all their cues.
Please clap.
Please clap. But no, I was not. I was not turned on. I was not impressed. I was not enthused. I was not inspired. But I'm a cynical guy. But apparently, that seemingly has continued to go through.
But he's probably not the one. And if the question is electability, I know Amy Klobuchar got the big endorsement, but outside of being the senator next door, I don't find a lot appealing about her candidacy, and I don't see a lot of Iowans that find, a lot appealing about her candidacy. So if it ain't Buttigieg, and it ain't Biden, and it ain't Amy Klobuchar, well, who's your centrist alternative to Bernie Sanders or perhaps Elizabeth Warren? My wife told me last night she's ready to endorse Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, really?
She went from Bernie supportive in 2016 to Biden initially when Biden announced she was all down for Biden. And as she has watched Biden, and as Biden has slid 10 in the polls, CNN polling, 11 technically since October, she's moved over to Elizabeth Warren. And that might be just the momentum Elizabeth Warren needs to get over the threshold, Dom.
Crudy,
but ultimately, if Bernie's the progressive,
making a big
Bloomberg could be the centrist alternative.
Bloomberg's pulling at, 5% right now in the CNN poll? Biden's at 24%. I mean, Biden's tied for first inside the margin of error with Bernie on the poll, man.
If Biden seems like he is less, quote-unquote, electable than Bernie Sanders, he's got a high burn rate. He's not raising a lot of money, and his momentum must carry him forward. The biggest difference, Bloomberg's got enough money. Bloomberg's investing in Super Tuesday. Joe Biden hasn't. I mean, I'm sure they're thinking about Super Tuesday. They got no money for Super Tuesday. They're not spending towards Super Tuesday. Joe Biden has expended on media like $3.5 million so far in this campaign.
Yeah, and he's rolling.
Bloomberg in the first 7 weeks spent $125 million,
and it got him 5. I mean, great. And you got a long
Depends
way
on
to
which
go.
poll.
5%. If you get 100 million, gets you 5%. It takes a lot of 100 millions to get you up to 24, 20 to 25 to beat Joe.
Well, I'm saying if Joe falters, and the broader electorate does not see Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg as a replacement, because let's not forget, centrist means safe. They're looking for a safe, electable alternative to Donald Trump. Well, you look at the polling currently, the head-to-head polling. Well, I mean, hell, Bloomberg is stronger than a lot of the quote-unquote leading Dems with higher poll numbers, right? So he's got an electability argument to be made. He has been a chief executive, ran the city of New York. He's a real billionaire, and he's got so much freaking money, he's going to blow up the prior elected models. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. He can get out months ahead of everybody else. Very first campaign to open up a campaign office here in the state of Wisconsin, Bloomberg in Milwaukee. Staffed up, he's got a full team, paid staff here in the state of Wisconsin. I don't think anybody else does. Not in that sort of way. I mean, I talked to Bernie Sanders' team. They're like, oh, we'll come see you mid-March. That's when you guys are relevant, right? Because Bernie's got a lot of early state problems to deal with. Biden and Buttigieg and those other candidates, they got to win Iowa. They got to try to win New Hampshire. They got to win South Carolina. They got to win in Nevada. Bloomberg doesn't even care. Bloomberg's leapfrogging the field, and he's got his own plan.
Yeah, but Bloomberg, and according to the last Marquette University Law School poll,
about 6%, right?
He's pulling at 6. He's tied with Yang, pulling at 5% in the national poll here. I mean, hey, he spent $100 million. Hey, he's got office in Wisconsin. Hey, that got him 6%.
Hey, everybody else has been running for 7 months. This guy's been running for 7 weeks. Hey, his trajectory is straight up relative to everybody else. And his head-to-head polling, I realize that's just one poll quoted by Newsweek. But, I mean, he's polling head-to-head as strong as damn near any candidate. Anybody except for Bernie.
Long way to go for Bloomberg, man. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not saying it's not a long way to go. I'm saying
there's a lot of things got to fall in line for that to happen.
Is the centrist that will be there with the resources to pick up the pieces when people realize the strength of Bernie Sanders' campaign. And, Dom, I've been dying to say it, and the Senate has not reconvened. I think that Hillary Clinton has given Bernie Sanders probably a big fundraising boost in the last couple of days. Hillary got, saved by the bell. They're back in chambers. It looks like we are going back live to the Senate impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. We'll take it now. Devil's Advocates, we'll do it again tomorrow with Missy Hughes from Weedick. Enjoy the impeachment of Donald J. Trump.
And then we will.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Told me, keep it up, but don't keep it up too long. So we will do our best not to keep it up too long. I'm going to turn now to the part of the chronology that picks up right after that July 25th call and walk through the increasingly explicit pressure campaign waged on Ukraine in order to get President Trump's deliverable, the investigations meant to tarnish his opponent and help his reelection. Now remember, by the end of July, Ukraine was aware of President Trump's requests for investigation to help his political efforts and had come to know that President Trump put a freeze on security assistance. So this is by the end of July. They also clearly understood that President Trump was withholding an Oval Office meeting until those investigations were announced. Both were very critical to Ukraine as a sign of U.S. support and as a matter of their national security.